Phasmophobia Eventide update is going to be finally upon us. Not quite yet, but we do, thanks to all of the content creators for Kinetic Games, have a look at what the patch notes are going to be and all the changes that are coming to Phasmophobia with this newest update. So I'm going to go over these, give my thoughts on it. Seems to be like there's some major changes. There's also some major stuff that's really left out already. So let's start with Point Hope itself, and it says that the location is going to feature 10 floors, 12 rooms. It's going to lay out which challenges players in new ways, which I absolutely love. They say that you'll have to use different techniques for some of these pesky ghost abilities while playing on lower evidence game modes. Harder no evidence games? Hey, sign me up. I like to play difficult. I'm super excited for this map. I'm going to try to go in as spoiler free as possible before playing it. I'm going to try not to look at any of the streams so that way I can experience it fresh myself, but super excited for the idea of this map. I cannot wait to check it out. Coming right after that, there's going to be some big changes to progression. They say that the required experience to go from level 1 to 100 has been reduced by around 10%, which will make leveling faster. I know that was a big complaint from a lot of people, but how faster is that 10% going to be? We're going to find out. Players can also now get up to level 9,999 for each prestige and not just cap at 999. They also say that the required experience needed to level up between 999 and 9,999 will increase each level. Probably not really going to matter for the majority of the players out there. Sunny Meadows Restricted is now going to be categorized as a medium location instead of a small map, so that's a very interesting change. And they're also going to increase rewards for playing medium and large locations. The medium money award is going to go from 125 to 150, and for playing a large map, it's going to go from 150 to 200. Is it enough to entice people to play? I don't know, but hey, it's at least a better change for a little bit of extra money. This is probably one of my favorite things with the new update that's going to happen, and it's with dots, and the tier 1 light range has been increased, which is a good thing for that. Desperately needed. Let's see how well it works, if it's going to work better. But the big change, which I've been saying forever, tier 3 dot scanning effect can now be paused when you interact with it while rotating. That was like my biggest reason I preferred tier 2 dots over tier 3. I thought the scanning was annoying, especially for smaller rooms. I really felt like it needed an option to pause it. It looks like we're getting that, and it's just a great quality of life adjustment. I hope the tier 1 light range increase is going to help. Anything to buff tier 1 dots is a good thing. Is it going to be enough to make it less of a headache? I don't know. Good quality of life change coming up with the EMF reader, as the tier 1's needle will no longer flicker near or past the 5 value during events and hunts. That will stop confusion with evidence, which was a big thing I noticed myself. I know you can't get EMF 5 on an event, but for newer players that don't know that aspect, it did seem like the needle went up there and almost hit 5 a few times, and it just made it super confusing. So hopefully this will be it. Tier 3 EMF 5 reading now plays a unique sound. I'll be interested in hearing what that is. But any way you can learn EMF 5 by sound is always a good thing. Some nice adjustments to Firelight, as they've increased the visible light intensity range for both tier 1 and tier 2. They've also increased the duration of the candles, which is fantastic. Tier 1 duration increased from 3 minutes to 5 minutes, and tier 2 candlelight duration lasts from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. Firelights and igniters will now be extinguished more accurately in heavy rain. They say that it will no longer be extinguished under house porches or inside small tents. So good quality of life adjustment there. Love the increased duration of the firelights. It's one of the most annoying things about tier 1 candles. I do a lot of challenges and stuff using tier 1 items. Candles are one of the most annoying, especially for an on-Rio test and things like that. So I'm super happy with the increased range. It definitely makes life a little bit easier. More great quality of life changes with the headgear, as a customizable key binding has been added to the control page for turning on and off headgear. That's good. It was annoying holding the toggle button, because if you had a flashlight inventory, it would turn it on while turning off the above, and just at least they made anything more customizable is always a good thing. Turning headgear 1 on and off will now play different sounds to help know which state the equipment is in, so that's great. So all you would hear was a beep, and the beep always threw me off because I don't really use the tier 1 headset that much. And then while within range of a ghost event or hunting ghost, tier 3 will now have a visual interference, and all tiers will now play a new sound. So this is good to know that if your headlight is on, it's going to make a sound to say, hey, your headlight's on, or your video cam on your head is on. You may want to turn it off so the ghost doesn't find you. Very curious to see what the tier 3 range interference is. Night vision goggles are a great way, and I also think the tier 2 headgear is like one of the most underrated items of the whole game, because it really gives you that extra inventory slot, because you can just use that as a flashlight and it'll get the job done. Next, as we move on to the Paramic, tier 1's red light will now flicker when a sound is detected, so that's good to know as well. If you're like, huh, is that a sound? Was that up ambient noise, whatever. That'll be good. Be interesting to see if it picks up ambient noise by flickering. Find out. Also for the Paramic Tier 2 and Tier 3 sound indicator visuals will now last slightly longer than the sound to improve legibility with short sounds. So Tier 3 can now receive sounds one floor above or below the player using it, with new UI to show which floor the sound is coming from. That's huge. That was one of the biggest issues with Paramic in general, especially if you needed to get a response. Like in Tanglewood, you had to be in the ghost room, not away, or hope to get it during the hunt. So if you can get that below, that'll be great. And I'm curious to see how it shows the floor. That's definitely something interesting. It says you now have to hold the parabolic microphones to turn them on or off. That's now some of the big changes coming with thermometers. Obviously, it was a big thing, and it's definitely been nerfed. We'll have to see how much, though. So first off, holding down the use button while holding a thermometer 2 or 3, so Tier 2 or Tier 3, will now continuously update instead of having to reset it after each reading. Huge. Makes it so much better. That was the biggest issue with the Tier 2 and Tier 3, because that was a good thing with the old thermo. You just go, constant reading. Oh, here's the drop, and we'll go. Keep on having to change. Be like, okay, what is it now? Waiting. Okay, go here. Waiting. Like, it took so long, and that's why Tier 1 was so good, because it would show you that immediate drop where the ghost is. So the change with Tier 1 says it now has a randomization to make it consistent with the other tiers. I'm very curious about this randomization. Is it still going to be more useful than the other tiers for finding the ghost room? Or maybe now that you can hold it and give you a constant reading, is it going to make people more likely to use the other tiers? We'll find out, essentially. I don't know how much of an effect it's going to have. I do think we may see more people using the other tier thermos now, but I'm very curious about this randomization and how it will be. It also said that the Tier 3 hold time has been reduced from 3 seconds to 2.5 seconds, so you can get the reading faster, hold it, get it, and that's good. And the Tier 3 randomization has been reduced to make it more accurate, which is also a great thing. So we'll curious to try it out, see how it is. Is it going to actually be better? I think if you can hold it and get the reading now, I think it may be more useful to try the other tiers, and I'm definitely open to trying it and comparing and seeing how it's going to go. Tripods and video cameras, nothing really crazy with it. Ghost will now throw the video cameras more consistently. Tripod 1 knockdown chance increase from 20% to 30%, and Tripod Tier 2 knockdown chance increase from 10% to 20%. Don't really affect too much. I don't really tend to use tripods. Sanity medicine, nice quality of life changes here. Tier 1 restoration time changed from 30 seconds to 20 seconds. Tier 2 restoration time has decreased to 10 seconds from 20 seconds. And Tier 3 will now instantly refill your sprint endurance in addition to keeping it full for 10 seconds. So just nice changes there. It is nice to have your sanity restored a little bit quick. Sound sensors, if you use the worst item in the game, they now have mute buttons in the truck. Fantastic. Not going to make me use it. Spirit box, some big changes with Spirit box here, which I kind of already thought was in the game, but apparently it was not. It says small environment lights such as lamps must now also be turned off to receive a response. So important to know it has to be completely dark in the room. And it says that if you're using text-based recognition, you have to hold the Spirit box to use it. I don't tend to use that. Some people do. Not the worst in the world, but I just use the voice. Sad day for the glow stick, as Tier 1 and Tier 2 have been swapped for better progression during leveling, because of course the glow stick is the best option. So it makes sense for Tier 2 UV to change to Tier 1. Sad to see it coming. It really hurts newer players, I think, because it's one of my best tips to use during hunts. Use the glow stick. It doesn't attract a ghost. You just got to get kind of better with knowing to turn items off and maybe using house lights and other to find your way to your hiding spot. Optimization wise, they say that they've drastically improved the performance of several areas of the game, which will result in fewer stutters, higher FPS, and quicker loading times, especially on low-end machines. Number of fixes and optimizations would be too many to list. Following have received the biggest adjustments: photos and video cameras, shadows, weather, sky effects, UI, physics, audio, reflections, textures, tent doors, claw system, been completely overhauled to increase performance. So we'll see all that. Hopefully the photo system is better, and I will just stop here and say the biggest thing that this whole update is missing: you cannot delete photos. They have not added that into the game yet, and I think that is absolutely a travesty. Hopefully this optimization makes photos better. I posted a video that I had of a scam. It was a short that I made, and I mean, there's so many comments of there are people getting scammed out of ghost photos, and I see it all the time on streams and other videos, and hopefully this fixes it. I don't know why that ability wasn't added. It was teased. I was expecting it. I think a lot of people were looking forward to it. It's not in this update, and I think that's definitely lacking. They did change some of the training. They just made it better for newer players, hopefully, to get it. I'm not going to go over that. There are new ID badges in the game. Lighthouse Keeper for correctly identifying the ghost and point hope 50 times, and then if you got the bronze, silver, or gold Apocalypse trophy. Have that. They say if you already done the challenge, you'll need to just complete a single game. But it kind of receive the new ID cards. More customization is good. That's about it for customization, though. Another big thing missing. There's not really a lot of customization. Anything else added at this? One thing that's very curious to me, it says players can now carry an igniter in addition to 3 other items. So does this mean that you can have one on you at the whole time? Now it says note, non-VR players can only carry one igniter at a time, similar to flashlights. Igniters will now have their own slot in the VR belt. So is it just for VR or is it everybody? If it's everybody and it just takes away a slot that you don't have to worry about, that'd be awesome. I'll see. That'd be a huge quality of life change there. Ghostwriting books now play new sounds when closed, so that's fantastic, I guess. Added Kate and Catherine to possible ghost first names. Big changes there. Ghosts can now leave single fingerprints on all small lamps and TV remotes in all locations, so great change there. More UV on more things is awesome. And a big change with the Ouija board questions. It says asking the Ouija board the bone location will now drain 20% of your sanity instead of 50%, mostly due to bone rewards not being included in the reward multiplier. So that's good if you are struggling to find the bone and you have the Ouija board. It's not going to be as much of a hit on your sanity. Or if you just want to drain 20% of your sanity, you can just ask it that question. Now, some changes to ghosts that are kind of important. Non-ghost writing ghosts now close the book after throwing it. So I guess it's no longer going to be open. It'll be thrown and closed. That sounds pretty cool. All right. Big change with the shade here. Shades can no longer blow out fire sources or write in ghost writing books if there are any players in the room to keep their strength consistent. Used to be like those were some of the only things shades could do. Now they're not going to do anything, which will at least make it a bit easier to identify shades without evidence because they're not supposed to be doing like anything in the room. It says, I wish to see the ghost will now limit your vision after the ghost event instead of before to allow you to see the ghost, and they've increased the sanity drain on one of the ghost events to match other events. Doesn't specify which one. For environment, they are going to have some weekly challenges in Point Hope. They say that the Paranormal Paparazzi and the Hide and Seek Hide weekly challenge will now take place in Point Hope. It says that medium tint windows now have colliders, correct collision on both sides, which was interesting to note because the ghost could likely see you versus maybe now it can't, or something to that effect. It said that they've adjusted audio effects to help identify if sounds are above or below you. So it says that sounds that are 1 floor above are bass boosted and muffled. Sounds that are 1 floor below, more muffled and quiet. And sounds that are 2 floors above you will have more extreme effects and volume reduction. So better ways to identify where the ghost is coming from. So I think that's a good thing, or where the ghost room is. Player fixes. It says that player movement will no longer be affected by held equipment, which is amazing because I love to crouch, much to everybody's dismay apparently. But certain items you had trouble crouching would like randomly force you into like some 45-degree angle. Hopefully that's all fixed. The ghost and bone can no longer get stuck in several locations. That's going to be good. A big one for the Yurei. They say that they can now use their ability on doors that are open at the start of the game. So before this update, there was a thing where the player had to physically maneuver the door for it to count to use the Yurei ability because the game viewed every door as closed, even if it was visually open until the player touched it. Now, looks like it's fixed that, so that's going to be good. Ghost will no longer keep throwing the same object over and over and will instead choose more varied items within its interaction range. That should help identify ghosts. So as far as some of the equipment, motion sensor 2 and 3 detection sounds can be heard on all floors. Paramic 2 now displays the correct volume values. You can no longer get readings on the paramic in the truck. Big one with the EMF Reader 1 will now point the needle closer to the EMF value instead of including EMF values above and below it, which is why I always told people just ignore whatever the EMF thing is. Now it looks like it's going to be more accurate, like a door touch will be an EMF 2 while a thrown item will be EMF 3 and then an event will be EMF 4, and it should closely hit that. So that's a good one. An active paramic will no longer muffle your audio when picked up while holding another item. That's good. I noticed that happening and it was kind of annoying, really. You can no longer light other people's incense by physically moving a light source into it. They keep trying to fix that all the time. The Ouija board will no longer break when saying goodbye with 0 sanity. That'll be good. Then with the environment, they say that the player and ghost will now correctly be detected when moving between rooms and floors, so make evidence gathering much more consistent. So apparently this was an issue where boundaries for ghost rooms and other things were kind of janky, and apparently this is to try to fix that. Like if you ever had a shade hunt right on top of you, which we probably all have had, and we're like, oh, that's definitely not a shade. Turns out to be a shade. Yeah, I think this is like a fix for that, and like that stuff shouldn't happen. Hopefully. We'll see. It says Maple Lodge cabin window fingerprints will be visible again. That's good. One of the biggest news on the update, the camping chair next to Lover's bench on Woodwind is no longer going to be white. Very important with the change. I'm guessing it's something with the visual on it. I don't know. All overhead tarps on Maple campsite now have rain sounds as well. And all Brownstone High School windows and doors now have the correct fingerprint material on them. Skipping the animations when you level up more than once will no longer skip the previous level's unlock pop-up, so you'll still know if you unlocked an item even though skipping multiple levels, which is good. Challenge map names will now be correct. And we'll see about this one. You can no longer complete the ghost photo objective when there's no space for photos in the journal. They've said that for years, I feel like, and it's still possible. Will it still be possible? We'll have to test it ourselves. And now be careful of some known issues that are going to happen with it. Deogen pathing can be inconsistent during hunts on Point Hope. I imagine because of the different floors and stuff, it can end up being kind of weird. So we'll see. Small items can occasionally fall through walls and floors in Point Hope. That sounds frustrating. Interaction can sometimes repeat multiple times. We'll see about that. And MSAA will cause visual artifacts while dead. Interesting. Let me know your thoughts on the update. There's a lot of good changes here and then some disappointing things. What are you looking forward to? What did you feel like was missed out? And dots seem like they're getting buffed, but if you do struggle with dots, click or tap the screen now. I'll show you exactly how you can identify every dots ghost without even needing to get dots yourself. Happy hunting, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thank you to all the channel members, and let's go learn how to identify these dots ghost.